New album by Styx. I love Styx. And I love birds. Well, I love swans. Not a swan, just a bird. But still, do I love this? We need to talk. Hey there, Swan Shadow here. Welcome back to the nest. Styx has released their 18th studio album. Well, technically they haven't released it yet. The official release date is July 18th, which at the time of this video is still about a week away. But the band has been selling physical copies on their website for about a month and a half, and also at their merch booth if you've seen them live on their current tour. I have a long history with Styx. I've been a fan since 1975, and I've seen them in concert several times. I attempted to hunt down my ticket stub from the Paradise Theater tour, but didn't have any success. I did, however, find the original t-shirt. The new album, entitled Circling from Above, follows on the heels of two truly outstanding albums, The Mission, released in 2017, and Crash of the Crown, released in 2021. I saw the band here in Vegas on that latter tour. They still put on an excellent show, and the music from those last two albums, especially Crash of the Crown, is amazing. So I was eagerly looking forward to this new album. And now that I've had a chance to give it a few spins, let's check out what's on it. First though, let's run through who's in Styx these days. We've got Tommy Shaw on guitars, mandolin, and vocals. James J.Y. Young on guitars and vocals. Lawrence Gowan on keyboards and vocals. Chuck Bonozzo is still listed as bass guitarist, but I think Chuck only plays on maybe one track here. Lawrence Gowan's brother Terry Gowan is the new full-time bassist, replacing the now retired Ricky Phillips. Will Ivankovich plays guitars, mandolin, harmonica, keys, and vocals. Will also produce the album. And Todd Zuckerman is on drums. The album credits don't give specific information about who sings and plays on each song, so I'll have to resort to some guesswork as we go along. Circling from Above is something of a concept album, along the lines of the band's previous two albums. The general theme revolves around humanity's conflict with nature, although on some of the tracks that theme is pretty vague, if not absent altogether. If you're a person who tends to shy away from concept albums, I think you'll be fine with this one. You might not even realize there's a concept happening unless you listen very closely. So let's talk about the songs. 13 tracks, although a couple of them are really short. That's typical of the album overall. There's not a single track on here that exceeds 4 minutes. They're going hard on the get in, get on, and get out type of performance here. Track number 1 is Circling from Above. The title track opens with grand keyboards. Then when the guitar and vocals come in, sounds a lot like Pink Floyd, which surprised me. Do I want Styx to sound like Pink Floyd? Don't know. Anyway, it's a very short track, a mere 2 minutes. Then we're on to the next. Track 2 is Build and Destroy. This was the first most of us heard from this album, as it was the first single released. That selection makes sense because this is probably one of the most Styx-sounding tracks here. Glorious vocal harmonies, soaring keyboards, and a killer guitar solo that doesn't overstay its welcome. I really like the vocal interplay between Tommy Shaw and Lawrence Gowan on this song, and throughout the album, really. I wish there was more of what this song delivers on the rest of the album. We're gonna come back to that. Track number 3 is entitled Michigan. Tommy Shaw is in his element here. He sings very beautifully in that Tommy Shaw kind of way, although you can definitely hear the depth and richness of age beginning to creep into Tommy's vocals. I'm really impressed by Todd Sucherman's drumming on this track, and on the entire album, but especially here. Fun fact, this is one of those songs, I like to collect these, where the title of the song never appears in the lyrics. I think maybe Tommy owns a farm or something in Michigan. Track number 4 is King of Love. And if you've been waiting for JY's distinctive vocals to show up to the party, he arrives on this song. Most of the vocals are carried by Tommy and Lawrence, and I think Will. But JY gets a couple of nifty solo passages to sing. If you're waiting for more of that, however, you're going to be disappointed. There's not a lot of JY elsewhere on this album. He doesn't have a single writing credit, and this is the only song where his vocals have any real presence at all. But this track has some good old school Styx feel to it, mixed in with a good bit of Queen. There's a bit of that sort of Queen-like harmony throughout this album. Do I want to hear Styx sounding like Queen? Don't know. But they're really into it on this record. Track number 5 is It's Clear. The vocal harmonies are once again strong on this song, but this time they sound more like Styx, or at least what I expect Styx to sound like. This track is very much in the vein of the preceding album, Crash of the Crown. If you picked up this album hoping it was going to be more of that, well, here it is. But enjoy it while you can, because you're not going to find an awful lot of it, or at least maybe not as much as you anticipated. But this is that new Styx sound from the previous 2 albums. I like it. I enjoyed this song. Track number 6 is Forgive. Every Styx album needs a song with Tommy Shaw singing along to his acoustic guitar. And here's the track for this album. Then Lawrence Gowan comes in. The 2 of them work out the vocals together. Me personally, I liked it better when it was just Tommy singing. Nothing at all against Lawrence. I enjoy his vocals generally, and I enjoy them on this album. But I latched onto something in the beginning of this song when it was just Tommy, and I wanted more of that. Also, there's a real Beatles feel to this song that kind of came out of left field for me. You know, there are bands that I expect to sound like the Beatles somewhere along the path of an album. Cheap Trick, certainly. ELO would be another. I don't usually think of Styx having that sort of Beatlesque sensibility. But they really capture the Fab Four on this song, and on a few others on this album. Do I want to hear Styx sounding like the Beatles? Don't know. Track number 7 is Everybody Raise a Glass. If I was hearing this song for the first time in a vacuum, I didn't know who or what it was or where it came from, and you told me it was a long-lost Queen song from around A Night at the Opera and A Day of the Races, I just might believe you. It has a lot in common with those British beer hall style numbers that Freddie Mercury was so fond of. The vocals, of course, don't sound much like Freddie. No one does, really. But the tone of the song and the instrumentation are in that vein. The guitar solo even borrows from that unmistakable tone that Brian May gets from his Red Special. This is a fun song, but again, I have to ask, do I want to hear Styx doing a pastiche of Queen? Still not sure. Track number 8 is entitled Blue-Eyed Raven. Remember the song Boat on the River from Cornerstone? Well, Tommy Shaw finally got around to writing a sequel, and to reminding us that he still knows how to play the mandolin. Somebody goes to town on the violin as well here. I'm not sure if that's Tommy or Will. The liner notes don't really make that clear, which, by the way, is one of my less important complaints about this album, and a lot of modern albums in general. It would really be nice if someone took the time to note in the album credits who plays what on each song. I mean, You're making a nice little booklet anyway. Why not provide that extra layer of information? I've been listening to Styx for half a century now, so I can more or less figure things out, but it would be terrific to get written confirmation. Okay, enough of that. This is a good song. I like it. Moving on. Track number 9 is She Knows. Here's more of that Beatles by way of ELO sort of business that we've heard a couple of times now on this album. Will Evankovich sings the entire lead on this one, which, well, I don't really love Will's vocals when he's singing by himself. He's not a bad singer by any means, but I'm not sure that I love him as a lead vocalist for Styx. His voice has kind of a ragged smoke and whiskey tone. I don't know whether the man smokes and or drinks. I'm not casting aspersions. I'm just trying to describe what I hear. But that tone, for me, doesn't quite work for Styx. Now, I realize Will is sort of stepping into the vocal shoes of JY, who does have a little of that quality, but in a very different way. And he's fine as a contributor to the harmonies alongside Tommy and Lawrence, but Will on his own, maybe I just need to get used to him. Anyway, this song is just okay for me. Track number 10, Ease Your Mind, is just a brief interlude. Some piano and some more rich, lovely harmonies. And then it's done. It's less than a minute. Track number 11, The Things That You Said. Once again, we got Styx doing the Beatles, more or less, with a generous dollop of Queen. Unlike a couple of the other tracks, though, I think this one actually works, especially about halfway through when the guitars kick in and we get to rock out a little. And finally, we get to hear more of Todd's drumming, which is really terrific all over this album, but he comes through more forcefully in the mix on this particular track. That's good stuff. Track number 12, We Lost the Wheel Again. This is another weird pastiche. This time, it's Styx imitating The Who, and not just a little bit. Will's lead vocal channels so much Roger Daltrey that I almost thought it was Daltrey for a second. The guitar lines echo mid to late 70s Pete Townsend. The new bass player, Terry Gowan, gives us a reasonable facsimile of John Entwistle. Todd on the drums does his best to conjure up the ghost of Keith Moon with all the power and frenzy that implies. But here again, and this is a theme I know you've been hearing over and over again throughout this review, do I want to hear Styx doing The Who? I don't know. That's not what I come to a Styx album for. The 13th and final track is Only You Can Decide. This is a lovely ballad with some stellar vocals, first by Tommy and then with harmonies by Lawrence and Will. Lyrically, it ties a nice neat bow around the theme of the album, such theme as there is, and we even get a fine guitar solo tucked in there. So what's the bottom line of Circling from Above? You've heard me use the words "I don't know" a few times in this video, and that truly does describe where I end up with this album. I really want to love it. I really did love the two albums that came immediately before it, especially Crash of the Crown, which I would rank as one of the best albums Styx has ever done. Note to self, let's do a Styx album ranking sometime. Put that on the to-do list. You know, I don't have any issue at all with the quality of this album. Every song is beautifully performed, both vocally and instrumentally. It's wonderfully produced. There are a couple of tracks that hit better for me and a couple that hit not quite so much, but all in all, job well done. The challenge for me is that while there's a lot of very nice music here, I'm not getting enough of the Styx that I came for. When I think of Styx, I think of pomp rock, bombast, and theatricality with a bit of a proggy edge. I think of hard-charging guitars and scrambling piano riffs. I think of big vocal harmonies, but Big vocal harmonies that sound like Styx and not like 4 or 5 other bands I could name. And let's be clear about what I'm saying here. It's not about missing Dennis DeYoung. The DDY ship has sailed. I didn't miss Dennis on The Mission or Crash of the Crown, and he's not the missing element here. What's missing from this is what sounds to me like Styx, at least as much as I want it to, it being a Styx album. Circling from Above is a decent album. It's a good listen. A lot of it is fun. But I could listen to it from end to end, and I've done that now 6 or 7 times, and forget at various points that I'm listening to Styx. And for me, that's kind of a bummer. Do I recommend this album? Yes, but set your expectations going in. If you're coming to this looking for the third part of a trilogy with The Mission and Crash of the Crown, you're probably going to be disappointed. This is not that. However, having said that, if you just want to hear some good new songs by Tommy Shaw, and I do think the ones that Tommy wrote or co-wrote on here are some of the better tracks. And if you just want to check out some nice, pleasant, modern pop tunes, well played, and maybe you're curious to hear what Styx might sound like if they tried dabbling in the sandboxes of the Beatles and Queen and ELO and The Who, then yeah, there's good stuff here. In fact, if you're into that sort of thing, you might enjoy the band's 2005 album, Big Bang Theory, which is an entire album of covers, including songs by the Beatles and The Who. Frankly, that is not an album I'm all that fond of, but again, if Styx being someone other than Styx somehow strikes a chord with you, it might be worth a listen. It's just not a great example of Styx being Styx. Nor is Circling from Above, in my opinion. Your Uncle Swan is giving Circling from Above a 6 for Styx and a bonus half for the bird-related concept, for a total of 6.5 tail feathers. It's not a really strong recommendation, but I didn't hate it. Your mileage may vary. Definitely do check it out. Have you heard Circling from Above? What did you think? Did you love it more than I did? Did you like it about the same, or maybe even less? Whatever your perspective, share your thoughts in the comments below. Also, if you dig what we're doing here, please hit this video with a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. YouTube loves it when you do that stuff, and I appreciate it sincerely. I will see you when I see you. Until then, please be well, and please do well by the folks you encounter. And you know I'm always going to ask, is there gas in the car? Yes, there's gas in the car.